AI is a data quality issue. Organizations I've been in have just data in different formats and quality. It's a huge challenge. You are going to pay for your complexity and confusion. You either pay for it up front to get it structured, or you could pay it blowing your budget. You have quality issues, customer complaints. You're going to pay for it regardless.
Hey everyone, today we have Michael Schank with us, founder of Process Inventory Advisors, and he's developed a framework that is absolutely critical before implementing AI. Michael, most businesses skip this step. What are they missing?
So if you want to implement AI, and there was a report that came out from Deloitte State of AI, that a
Mhm.
plurality of people are looking to embed AI deeply in their processes and functions. But you can only do that if you have detailed knowledge of what those processes and functions are and all the
Mhm.
resources and context. Organizations need a common semantic structure to
Mm.
allow data. I've been in consulting for almost my entire career. The one common thing, the only available semantic structure I've really thought through is process. What activities do you do to run your business? My framework is understanding those processes are, and it's an organization based approach. So I start at the top of an organization. It could be the entire enterprise or one specific organizational unit within an
Mhm.
enterprise, but just start at the top and ask the leader what they do and describe their organizational structure. And then I keep walking the hierarchy down to identify every process and owner. Ultimately, it's a taxonomy with a process. Once I have that, I could align internal data, systems as a process use, what people, what third-party vendors, what metrics does it have, et cetera. But I build that into a database. That database could be converted to vector data to train AI on everything about your business. And that becomes a digital twin of an organization. And digital
Mm.
twin is a concept that's been around since the 2000s, but it's mainly in the physical world, manufacturing environments, physical products, even human body for drug innovation. And this term digital twin for an organization's been around, but no one's tackled how do you model an information-based business? That's what my framework does. I have a working prototype. It gives you predictive analytics, real-time monitoring, data-driven decision-making. You can do simulations, generate documents for projects. It's a game changer in terms of productivity, in terms of quality, in terms of a lot of metrics.
Definitely. A lot of people get excited about implementing AI and then they miss out on documenting the processes and actually making sure you're replicating the quality of work you used to do before AI.
AI in general is especially for organizations, is a data
Mhm.
quality issue. And
Yeah.
almost all organizations that I've been in just have data in different formats and quality. It's a huge challenge. And I'm providing a common language to align data, people, and activities in a tangible way.
Would you say this is more for larger businesses or would smaller businesses benefit too?
Smaller businesses, especially new startups, will go through a growth phase. Let's just get revenue, and you're not really worried about efficiency and the structure of the organization. Just go. But at some point, you reach a curve where you're like, okay, we need to really focus on margin. We got to make sure that we're being efficient with our people and our resources, et cetera. And that's where this insight comes in. You need dedicated people for this information and data. It doesn't have to be a full-time role. It could just be somebody assigned to doing it. But in terms of just understanding how your organization works, like it's great for operational excellence, operational efficiency, driving change, you name it.
Can you walk us through your process inventory framework? What does it look like in practice? Maybe an example?
Yeah. So, like for an example, I was one of my clients was a US retail life and annuities company, and they were getting carved out from a larger global insurance company. And they made some decisions around they want to be a low cost provider. They didn't want to inherit any of their old parents' technology because they thought it was overly costly and complex. And they really needed to build an entire insurance company. It was a startup, but they had hundreds of millions of dollars of assets. So the first thing we did is we inventoried everything that their business did, just did some workshops with different leaders and identified that process inventory 2 or 3 levels down and made strategic decisions based on that. They broke it up into best in cost or best in class. Best in cost is they thought it was customer facing. It was a differentiator for them. So let's invest money to make this a unique experience versus best in cost is just make it work. And so we did that. We drove those workshops, did requirements based on each, and that drove partner decisions. Most of their software and their was SaaS and outsourced. but really use that information then into the implementation phase where we define their roadmap for their transformation, scoped individual projects, leverage this framework for requirements, design, testing, really everything to get all their people that were involved in this transformation aligned.
Was there any pushback from the people involved?
The client, when I first sold this project, had the idea. They wanted a detailed understanding of everything that they did so that they could drive with that level of transparency. They were very much into it.
So once you have your process inventory, how do you decide where AI fit?
You have to do some strategy. It has to align with the strategic imperatives of the organization. Is it lower cost, driving change faster, being more agile? I work with banks, so it could be risk and compliance. You have to start with that need. That need goes into the detailed framework you're creating. Process inventory is the foundation, but you could do value streams, you could do business capability models, think through what you're building, what quality of the data. Do you have a risk repository, an application repository? Are you managing that? Building your model custom to your needs. Developing use cases is important to create rich information about your organization, but also orient internally to leverage this. One of the first things I do with a client is strategy work, develop the framework and use cases. Then everyone understands what they're doing.
Would you say for a small startup, you should have all your processes documented as you get started?
Yes. And I would separate, and this is a big misconception. I am more interested in the process names because it's that semantic structure for data alignment, not necessarily process models. You can do process models, but there's a different timing aspect. There's a lot more effort if you're doing detailed process models for everything. First, just write down what you do and who owns those things. That drives clear accountability and gives you the ability to do data alignment. If you're driving something like a change project, now you can be very precise on who needs to do what. So saves you up to 40% of productivity time. And then if you add AI, you're almost automating everything.
How does this concept relate to AI readiness?
It is a use case for AI readiness. A lot of organizations struggle with, do I bring AI in because there's data privacy and security concerns? As I mentioned earlier, you need to think through your data. And that's what my framework enables is if one of your use cases is, I want to drive operational excellence, I want to drive performance in my organization, then you really need that semantic data structure so that when you ask AI, I want to replace the system, it knows exactly the impacts by process, by people. It could generate your project charters, project plans, estimate your budget, create detailed task lists or agile tickets. I could do strategy from it, do an internal and external environment scan, tell me where I'm strong, weak, where there's opportunities and threats. So I'm clear on where my discretionary investment goes in terms of changing the organization.
You emphasize a lot on semantics. If there are a few vocabulary that we should learn right now so we get what we're supposed to do, what would they be?
Semantics, you could call it a
Yeah.
common language, but one of the root causes, there's a stat that 70% of transformations fail because there's a communication gap between aspects of the organization. There's a classic cartoon that you'll see out there. It's called I'm drawing a blank on it, the tree swing diagram, which has, here's what the customer asked for, here's what product management designed, here's what the business interpreted, here's what technology, and it's all different images of different tree swings. And there's a communication gap is because when the business may call this like move money and the technology may call it wire transfer, that generates a lot of confusion, a lot of back and forth, and even missed functionality or gaps in timeline, et cetera. That semantic structure, common language gets everyone on the same page.
Everyone needs to be on board, both the technologists and the business strategists. So everyone needs to have that common language before they go in to do the transformation.
Exactly. Or else you're going to have a lot of back and forth and waste a lot of time and money.
So what are the most expensive mistakes founders make when they skip the process inventory step?
It's lack of efficiency in how they drive their organization. So especially when they get to the phase where they're really focused on margin and being efficient. I was at one organization and it was another kind of startup type situation, but where they had assets. So it wasn't completely a startup. And then they just started hiring like just amounts of people, but they weren't clear on what they were going to do. There was a period of a few months of just, how's it going? I'm not sure what I'm supposed to be doing yet. I was at another organization where they outsourced mortgage servicing to a third party, and they had about 4 years of intense pain So regulators were looking at their issues, challenged with quality. That could have been avoided had they done a process inventory of their mortgage servicing environment and put that into the contract when they outsource with that vendor and said, here's everything we need you to do. Here's our SLAs, control expectations, and made sure before they went live with that vendor that they tested well on everything. So it's just a good structured way to make sure that you know what you're doing at a detailed level.
How long does the process take?
It's not long at all. I separate process names from process models. If I'm going to an organization, I could do it in a matter of a couple of weeks, depending on what data I'm aligning, et cetera. And I usually start with current state. If you have a map, it's not useful if you don't know your current location. So if I'm just sitting down with someone and I ask, tell me what you do, that's a quick conversation. I usually have two conversations. First, my teams do homework on whatever available materials available so I could create a draft. Then I have a conversation and say, tell me what I'm missing, what I got wrong. Let's complete this thing, usually complete it in an hour or so. And then I'll do the data alignment, come back for another meeting, do final checks and corrections, then get sign off. Multiply that by the size of the organization. When I was at a large bank, my team was doing the entire retail bank for the US, and we did about 60% of the organization with 4 people in about a year. I estimated it would have been about 10,000 processes. So you could get a lot of details in a short amount of time. If you're looking at tech startups, that goes way down because it's not as complex, especially at the start.
Definitely. It just depends on the scale of the organization.
My framework is organizationally based. So you have to take what you're doing and multiply it by how many organizational units, how many people you have to interview.
So, as a startup grows, how does the process inventory framework evolve?
To do it right, you need as I mentioned, a team or some people that care and feed for it. Because especially if you're using it for digital twin or AI, it always has to reflect reality. So anytime you have a change in the organization, you implement new functionality, hire a new team, you should capture what they're doing and put it into the repository. But also you should do some periodic reviews of those just so it's all up to date. So think of this as a living, breathing thing you maintain, especially if you're driving a lot of what you do with it.
What tools do you use to document these processes?
So the main tool is you need a database, and
Mhm.
there's a lot of process management tools that are kind of databases that combine modeling with data management. You need to create taxonomies, import data from various sources to create libraries. You need to be able to do the associations, et cetera. And then there's other tools like process mining or prompts via AI. Ultimately, to get AI, you need a combination. It's not just machine intelligence, you need human intelligence. You need to talk to people, validate that side. Once you have it, you have your digital twin. You need a digital twin engine to upload this intelligence or kind of train, quote unquote, into AI so that you could leverage it.
Once you have a digital twin, what happens to your business?
You need to do work on what performance data you're feeding it. So in digital twins for physical environments, say manufacturing, they put a lot of IoT sensors, say on the manufacturing floor. They're constantly getting data on how different aspects are doing. This becomes a living, breathing thing. And that you could build a real-time dashboard and see how various things are doing. Is it red, yellow, green? Where are my challenges? It could anticipate issues. You could do change projects. Let's say I want to purchase another company. Now I could ask AI, what's all the implications? Design the program. There's a lot you could do with it. Risk and compliance for companies that have a lot of regulatory oversight. You could say, here's all my processes. What are my regulations that I have to care for? What are the risks? What are the controls that I need to implement? Really, it can cover everything to run and grow your business.
It's like your advisor, but also helps you implement.
Exactly. Organizations spend a lot on management consultants, and this becomes your kind of free management consultant.
So,
It's certainly not the rates that have traditionally been charged by consultants.
how soon do we get this as a robot?
That's a physical robot? I saw robots playing soccer the other day. They weren't very good. Those are coming.
For founder listening, what's the minimum viable approach to get started with the process inventory?
I think just reach out to me or buy my book, but really think about why are you doing it? I think you always have to start. What am I trying to accomplish? What metrics to impact? Follow the approach that I lay out in the book of taking the structured top-down approach and just inventorying everything you do, putting it into a taxonomy structure, and then just start driving the decision making and how you operate from it. And this thing can iterate over time. So you could just start with, I just want to know everything that my team does and who does it, then add data elements as you grow your use cases.
Get started with small processes build up over time.
You don't have to do your whole organization. You could do one unit, prove it, and then expand.
What led you to develop this framework? Was there a specific moment that made you realize that processes were missing this piece?
My background as a consultant in over 100 companies, mainly in financial services, applies to any industry. I've done strategy work, design, transformations, risk and compliance. You see a pattern if you're paying attention. Everyone struggles. And to me, the root cause of it is, especially for some organizations, things are just so complex and so chaotic, and people really only know kind of one aspect of it. When I started as a technologist, I was a developer, a solution architect. When I got introduced to this concept, first it was business architecture. I created one for a client, like a business capability map for one of their business units, and it was an epiphany moment. I'm like, I get to see everything because I came from technology. I really didn't know what the business did. I'm like, I get to see everything that the business does in kind of one model. But I realized business capability models aren't enough. You need to get down to the process level detail. The business capability model is not a good top level structure. You need to break down the organization. Paying attention and studying this, I developed a playbook and started using it in different client scenarios. It worked in every one.
Okay, this is genius. I'm going to be documenting my processes from now. Start tomorrow.
Exactly. I have a list of processes for how I get ready in the morning. Take shower, brush teeth, get dressed.
Spoken like a developer.
If I could create a digital twin of my morning routine, that'd be interesting.
What pushback do you get from founders who want to move fast?
Someone sent me a cartoon where it was like our ancestors or whatever pulling a cart that had square wheels. And someone said, hey, here's some round ones. They're like, no, we're too busy. And I think it's a little bit of, and I think that captures the essence of it is you do need to slow down a little bit to make sure you have that data structure because AI is all about data. You give it bad data, you're going to get bad outcomes. And this is not just me saying it. Everyone looking at AI knows that data quality is key. What I'm offering is a good way to get data quality if you're interested in how you run your organization and the performance of it. So take the time, really detail out what your organization is going to do, and then you're going to gain a bunch of benefits from that AI enablement.
Slow down, document your processes, and become more productive in the long run.
Exactly. You're going to pay for your complexity and confusion. You can either pay up front to get it structured, or you could pay in the back end when you're missing timelines, you're blowing your budget, you have quality issues, you have customer complaints. You're going to pay for it regardless. So it's a choice and it's less expensive to do the work up front.
How has your thinking about digital transformation changed since you wrote your book? What would you add or change today?
That's a good question. Digital transformation is a profound change in how you operate your business and deliver value to your customers. It's more than just implementing new technologies. It's digitizing all information within your organization so that in a clear, structured way, so that you could leverage things like AI. And I think AI and I've been skeptical on some technology innovations in the past, like RPA and process mining and stuff like that. I'm not about AI. I think it's going to fundamentally change how we operate our businesses, but we have to do the foundational work to get ready for it.
What's one thing about AI implementation that most founders overthink and one thing they don't think about enough?
It's all about data.
Mhm.
One thing they don't think about is that semantic layer, that common structure of how are you going to join different perspectives together? The business perspective, the technology perspective, risk, you name it, the customer experience. How are you going to join all those viewpoints into one unified model? They don't think enough about. And as I mentioned earlier, I don't think there's a programmatic way to do it. You need to capture that human intelligence. And that means you need to talk to people.
Soft skills are important.
Soft skills are important. When you do this, you have to be efficient because if you take months spinning on certain conversations or trying to document things, people will get annoyed and it'll hurt your effort. So you've got to have the right approach.
Looking ahead, what's the next evolution of process inventory framework as AI becomes more sophisticated?
I think it becomes the foundation for AI, for digital twins for running operations. So the digital twin for an organization concept has been out there, but no one ever detailed an approach for how to do it. That's where my framework is unique. I see AI transforming how businesses run, and process inventory is at the heart of that.
Definitely. Everyone start documenting your processes today, and so that you won't be making some mistakes in the future that will come
Exactly.
from skipping this step.
Exactly.
Thank you, Michael, for sharing your insights with us.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me on. This has been such a pleasure and a great conversation.
So you've just seen why process clarity is essential. Now see how SAN helps startups unlock 1 million in savings by building smarter with no code and AI. Click here to watch this next.